We're getting close to Thanksgiving and the holidays, and we're also coming up on the last segment of Pay It Forward. But you know, we always like to save something special for the end, like Kevin Winter of Team Velocity, Joe St. John, and part 2 of our special segment with the founders of WOCAN. Stay with us.
It's so vitally important that we have the Leukemia Lymphoma Society on our side, be the front runner in the newest, most up-to-date technologies for fighting cancer.
To give or get help, visit lls.org.
Kevin Winter is the Senior Vice President at Team Velocity, a familiar face here at the Fixed Ops Roundtable. Kevin, welcome back to the event.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me, Ted. Love it.
Your company has made a lot of inroads in the last couple of years, especially these last 18 months, Kevin, with all you're doing, not just on the sales side, but on the service and parts side, and really bringing that all together and focusing on that customer experience. So congratulations on all the success you're having, and we look forward to hearing a little bit more about it here.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Thanks. And we are super excited, about the years to come, because we have doubled down on customer experience, and obviously service and after sales is a huge part of that, but we truly believe in making sure we're managing that customer experience from start to finish.
And Kevin, I think there's more focus right now than ever before, because here we are in mid to late November, and this has been quite a ride this year, especially the last 18 months. But this year, I mean, nobody expected this. Here we are with a lot of dealer lots, new vehicle inventory just does not exist. Dealers can't get cars, and the used car market has been never so historically high, and we really don't know, where the peak or valley is going to be. But what we can count on, and what dealers can count on, the dealer franchise system, is that revenue from service and parts. And you really help at Team Velocity to make that more robust for dealers. I want to talk to you a little bit about that.
Yeah, no doubt. And I have a few, slides I can share with you. I mean, we've definitely been monitoring how the program is working, but in terms of service and after sales, I think I still think a lot of people in the industry maybe don't know Team Velocity on the service and after sales side of the business, but they're definitely getting to know us, because the investment we've made there has been tremendous over the past year, whether it's product enhancements or adding, new talent to the team. I mean, we've really doubled down on the after sales side of the business, and we're seeing more and more dealers, with these challenges that we're facing this year, we're seeing more and more dealers shift budgets over to that after sales side of the business. And we've had a ton of success, and we want to make sure our dealers and manufacturers have that success, because that's what'll make us successful at the end of the day. So I can definitely share a few things of what we're seeing in the industry today.
Yeah, let's bring that up. And I want to congratulate you also, and David Boyce and Justin Bird, because you've really had the foresight to prepare for a lot of what was coming over the last couple of years, when really, the rest of the market was really not sure what was ahead. But you've really invested in some things that have really come to fruition and now are mainstream and mainstay. And, you offer a complete solution for dealers.
Oh, appreciate it. I mean, you've definitely been helping us drive that. So we appreciate being able to participate in these fixed op roundtables. It's been awesome. I mean, I won't spend much time on this. It's just kind of a reminder, right? Like, I think a lot of times, a lot of dealerships and the industry even remembers Team Velocity, for digital advertising, and obviously we've come a long way in our websites and creating that personalized experience. And we were always driving sales retention, but that service retention bucket, on the bottom right, that's really where we've invested this year. And I think a lot of times we ask, well, like, what did that do? And what we're seeing actually with all the investments that dealers have made, we're finding that dealerships that are investing in the full suite are actually getting a bigger return than dealers that are only doing little pieces of it. And it's interesting because we looked at Q3 data this year, and we looked at dealers that were, only doing retention with us or only doing digital advertising with us and weren't doing, websites with us. And those dealerships that were only doing little pieces of the program actually had a 6% decrease in year-over-year sales growth. And then we looked at dealers that were doing retention with us and digital advertising, but still weren't using, Team Velocity for websites, and they actually had a 2% decrease in year-over-year total sales growth. The interesting part is, and we love saying it, right? Like, apples to oranges, and the dealers were doing everything with us, right? Everything aligned in terms of, our programs and products, retention with us, advertising with us, using our websites. Those dealerships actually had a 5% year-over-year total sales growth in Q3 when we looked at, June, July, August. So it was, it's evident, and we're seeing this every time we look at the numbers. If you're piecemealing it, one, performance, will suffer. But I think at the end of the day, truly that customer experience suffers as well. And that's why we really, really focused on the retention side of the business.
And I think, Kevin, from what I heard some folks at your company say, historically, we've looked at this as the term is silos, several different silos. And you've really put everything really on one platform with this Apollo customer experience platform that really offers a very robust experience for the consumer and great opportunity for the dealer.
Yeah, no, the dealers, I mean, there's so many benefits with it. We were talking to a manufacturer last week, and there's just so many benefits to it, right? The dealerships have one, person that they can work with. Most of the times there's cost savings to the dealership. I would say almost all the time. Performance, obviously, you can see, what happens, when everything connects, and there's no doubt, I mean, the customer experience, right? Where a customer is at all times during their life cycle, and you can react to it. And I think what we're proud of is that we let our technology, react to it at the end of the day through automation And that's what we're really proud of. And so far as we're, monitoring this, we're seeing the results. We're seeing exactly what we hope to have seen. So we're really excited.
I love it. I love the analogy you're giving us there with the apples and apples versus apples and oranges. We can all relate to that.
There's so many differences in programs, and there's so many great companies out there, but we are buying in on, our entire organization, we're buying in on, trying to manage, that entire customer experience.
Okay.
I think the interesting, I was reading automotive news today actually, and saw this article in the November 1st issue. And it was really interesting, right? I saw, we're starting to see, a fall in terms of the volume of repairs, but we're actually seeing an increase in revenue, which is really interesting, right? Higher RO dollar amounts, but less ROs coming in the door. And I wanted to see, as we've started to manage a lot of these programs on the after sales and service side of the business, I want to see, how does that look internally for us? And I thought it would be interesting to take a peek. And we're seeing similar, here's a dealership who started on our service retention program earlier this year. And you'll notice, right, gross revenue for this dealer has increased considerably, right? They're at $54,000 a month in January and all the way up to $102,000 in October. So we're seeing a lot of those similar trends. And when you look at gross revenue in terms of average per RO, we're also seeing that steady increase, right? $274 average RO back in January, and now $426 average RO in October, right? So we're seeing a lot of those same trends. The interesting part is we're actually still seeing the growth in ROs for a lot of our dealers. And I thought that was really, really interesting. So we haven't quite seen the decrease in volume in all cases, which was really interesting to me.
Kevin, is that, if I can ask, is that a customer pay RO or is that overall repair orders?
That was overall. For a dealer struggling right now who's trying to get those numbers up, and there are a lot of dealers even in this economy right now who do not have anything near that. You offer a very robust solution for them. Yeah, I was blown away at the average gross. And then, I thought, well, hey, maybe I'll also see the fact that we're seeing these declines in total ROs. And I think what I do see is for the dealers that are bought in on our cadence and bought into the entire program, because once again, right, you can kind of piecemeal communications or advertising, but for the dealers that, like this dealer in particular, they're on all of our communications, they're doing search with us, they're doing social with us. So they're doing everything. And the RO volume has increased year over year as well, right? I mean, this dealer started out at 723 in January. Now, obviously different months. I think all the dealerships saw strong Marches and Aprils, but those numbers have still, remained high where they're seeing an increase in ROs compared to the prior year. And so, overall 33% more ROs this year than last year, which was really impressive.
That's extremely impressive. Yes.
And I took a deeper dive, right? I said, like, all right, well, where are these ROs coming from? Are they, when he looked in January versus October, to your point, Ted, are they all active ROs, customer pay? Are we winning back new customers? Are we finding customers that drive same brand that maybe weren't in the dealership's database? And it's across the board. That's the good news. This dealership saw a 17% increase in active ROs. They saw a 37% increase in lost ROs, and they saw a 67% increase in conquest ROs. So it's driving business in every single segment. And I think, that's, that just says a lot to the program, because we're not missing out on anybody.
I'm going to put you on the spot, Kevin.
Yeah.
What's the difference between a lost RO and a conquest RO?
So we leave it very customizable to the dealership. Yeah. So I'll give an example, right? We really rely on the manufacturer programs. And so some manufacturers might say, hey, 2 consecutive ROs within a 12-month period, the customer is active. If the customer doesn't come back within the 12-month period, then they're lost. Okay. And those business rules change. The luxury brands, sometimes it's 15, 16 months. And then if they haven't seen the customer, they'll consider them lost. And we allow that we allow that customization within our platform. With Conquest, a lot of programs don't include Conquest, but what we've found is, especially nowadays, as customers are purchasing far, far away from their houses, and that dealership that they're most likely to come back to and service at doesn't have them in their database. And, rather than go to a third party, we would much, much prefer giving that dealership a shot at that owner of that brand. And I think that's something everyone has to really take a closer look at, because I think we're living in different times. And as a lot of these rules have been developed within manufacturer programs, that's something that we really need, I just think in general needs to take a closer look at to ensure we're retaining those customers and they're not going to third parties.
Nice.
The last, at the end of the day, here's a picture one of our field folks took at one of their dealerships. Obviously dire, right? In terms of inventory. But what we've really focused on, and I think this is, very cool as an organization, I was proud to be part of it, is we've coached our team to stop selling and start helping, right? It doesn't matter what we can do for the dealership, for the manufacturer, at all levels of our organization, whatever we can do to help. If after sales is the right, place to invest for the dealership, let's invest and help. If training within their BDC is the right place, let's invest and help. And so we're really, I don't want to say we're changing our mindset, because I think we've always been a help first organization, but this is really what we're focusing in now is making sure that our team, puts selling to the side and make sure that we start helping. And Thanksgiving's a great time to do it, right?
Yeah, I think it is, Kevin. Great stuff. Cool. Team Velocity Marketing, the leader in all things marketing. And I love the mantra, stop selling and start helping, Kevin.
Thanks, Ted. Yeah, no, we're excited about 2022. And yeah, I don't know if you were at Digital Dealer, but seeing everybody, back, mm-hmm. it was mm-hmm. nice. And if that's any indication of what NADA is going to be, it's going to be an exciting year for sure. It's
coming back, Kevin. Kevin, if our audience wants to reach out to you and Team Velocity Marketing to find out how they can get with the leader in marketing, how do we do that?
Yeah, they can reach out to us. Best is phone number 703-783-9572. They can also reach out to us. We have contact us on our website, teamvelocitymarketing.com. They can get a hold of anybody here at our organization. So happy to help in any way.
Kevin, happy Thanksgiving to you and your family and the Team Velocity family as well.
Same to you. Thanks a lot, Ted. Appreciate it.
Kevin Winter from Team Velocity Marketing here today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thanks, Kevin. And Ted, it's common for the energy to fall as the show begins to wind down, but not here at Pay It Forward. We are flat out bringing the fire right on through to the end. Joe St. John is in the house.
Joe St. John is the Vice President of Business Development at Stone Eagle F&I. Joe is a great friend of the Fixed Ops Roundtable. He has been involved with so many of our events since the early days. He's mesmerizing in what he said to our audience and in the way he makes his delivery. And there's really nobody else, everybody, in the industry like Joe St. John. Joe, welcome to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Ted Ings, I am so excited to be here with the one and only Mr. Ted Ings. Every time I get to show up and talk fixed ops, I get just juiced. When I find out it's like Fixed Ops Roundtable Day, I just can't wait, man.
And I tell you, Joe, you always bring the thunder, and you got a lot to share with us today. And I don't want to steal your thunder, okay? So I'm going to let you go ahead and take the floor, and it's all yours, my friend.
Man, well, I'm so glad to be here, Ted. So today what I want to talk about is, I think, something that everybody in our industry is talking about, and that's online transparency. And so I think that when you think about online transparency, what I want to do today is walk through what this actually means and what the impact of this can actually be for the dealers that are paying attention right now. So I want to talk about what I want to go through. So at Stone Eagle, we do business with over 6,400 dealers. We provide metrics and analytics. And the way that we do that is we really analyze and normalize the standardizing the set of F&I data coming out of DMS systems that we can report back on. And so what we looked at was 25 million automotive sales transactions. That's from January 19 until today. And what we wanted to understand was what's actually happening in the world of where the rubber meets the road at the transactional level of an automotive purchase. And the reason we wanted to look at that was to understand if the narratives that we're hearing in the industry are real, what can we validate, what can we invalidate? And so, when I think about the title of this, which is automotive transparency the death of profitability? I've been very near and dear to this point of retail transparency on the sales side. And I think when you think about where we're at today, according to a recent study by NADA on digital retail, in 2018, less than 5% of dealers had a payment calculator on their website in any way, shape, or form. So literally, and I remember it very clearly, right? 2017, I was at the convention with one of 4 companies that were doing payments on a website or online F&I. It wasn't even called digital retail then. And I can remember distinctly friends of mine that were dealers that I got to come to our little suite and meet with us. And they would be like, whoa. I'm one from Arkansas. I'd be like, hey man, you telling me you want me to put payments on my website? You've lost your mind. Never going to happen. And when you think about what NADA says, in 2021, 91% of dealers have payment information on their website. And when I think back to that moment at NADA convention in New Orleans in 2017, I think that the dealers had fear that if we were to become more transparent, that the outcome would be continued compression of margin and erosion of profitability. And so I think about how dealers got over that fear, right? What kicked us from that place to this place. And I think it's very apparent, right? COVID kicked us there. And this is an article that I remember reading when we were all locked at home in the early phases and doing webinars. And, Ted, it's so crazy to me, because I have these very real feelings of when it all got real, right? I remember it was March the 13th. I think it was a Friday. I was at Bill Knight Ford in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Bill had just come in he'd been at the basketball game the night before in Oklahoma City where the Thunder were playing. They got canceled due to COVID. And I remember him showing up and being like, look, this is real. You need to call Lori, get her to go get groceries. That's my wife, by the way. Stock up. This is not going to just blow over. I actually lost $100 because I bet somebody that it would be over in a couple of weeks and I literally Venmo'd a sad face and a mask. And I think back to that moment because it fundamentally changed the way a lot of dealers had to operate. And I remember you and I being on webinars at that time, and friends of mine like Matt Greenblatt in New Jersey, who at his 3 dealerships, literally the state was like, you can't sell cars. You're a non-essential business.
Right.
And what I love about dealers is how like gritty and crafty and creative we are. It's like, oh yeah, we won't sell cars, but in our service drive, we will talk to customers and then do curbside delivery. But I think about this because a lot of dealers like Matt found ways to get creative by delivering an experience online that allowed a customer to do a lot of the sales process that they normally would have done at the dealership from the comfort of their home. And so if you think of this article, the date on this article is May of 2020, right? So I think of like May of 2020 is like the red line of before like digital retail and after digital retail. And so what I wanted to do at Stone Eagle was look at the data sets of 6,400, 40% of the industry, and look at, was the hypothesis that my friends that came to visit me in New Orleans had about, okay, if this happens, what's going to happen to profitability? And so what I did was we just literally just kind of mapped out front end and back end gross on new and used car deals from January of 19 until August of this year. And we put that red line on it. And when you put that red line on it, this is what it looks like.
Whoa. Look at that.
Yeah, front end gross has gone from, 300 a car back in January of 19 to 2,300 a car in August of 2021. Back end profitability has gone from $1,200 a car to $1,800 a car. And you can see where that transition actually started to happen. And now I'm not saying that it's all transparency that's led to this, or it's all the fact that that digital retail has created all this profit. There's a lot of market forces out there. The chip shortage and inventory supply has obviously played into it. The demand of customers needing transportation and wanting to have a car to have access to freedom. All of these things are playing into it. But I think that I can fairly confidently assert that the impact of digital transparency hasn't hurt profit, it's helped profit. And I was at Digital Dealer a few weeks ago, and I was at dinner with good friends of mine that work at a dealership. They're all in the Germain organization. And Scott Cassidy, who's the F&I director of Germain Honda of Beaver Creek, which is right outside of Dayton. I call him the Dayton Hammer, right? And I'm having dinner with him. And I asked him, I said, you guys, you've been doing digital retail like crazy. I see your 80% of your deals are interacting with digital retail before they come in, and your F&I numbers keep going up. What do you think is causing this? What's driving this? And he said, he gave me an answer I hadn't heard before. He said, when customers have control of the process, they seem to make some really good decisions, and they land themselves where they need to be. And he said, they land themselves on cars that actually fit into their budget. They don't push themselves to the max of their budget before they ever come to the F&I office. So their ability to have room in that budget is increased because they've actually put them where they need to be. And I've thought about this a while, and I've been really kind of ruminating on all the things that are happening on the sales side of this. And I think that the takeaways are, we have to apply this same idea and concept and mindset to the fixed ops world, right? When I think about what we've learned going through this digital retail transformation of the last 3 or 4 years, the number one thing is that your dealership doesn't have an internet department. Your dealership is an internet department. And that is just as true in fixed ops as it is over on the sales side of the house. And I think the other thing that we've got to learn is that transparency isn't the eroder of profitability. Transparency should equal profitability at your organization. And what I mean by that, in fixed ops, it's about helping customers to actually see what it is that's so valuable about what you're doing at the dealership for them, and helping them to actually make good decisions. And we've got to start leveraging technology to do that. And for me, I think that one of the things that we've got to start doing in this industry is focusing on simplicity. When you think about great technology out there, right? You think about Amazon. Amazon's website's not complicated. It's not even that good looking, right? It's kind of ugly. It's got like this kind of yellowy color, and like there's like a button. And I think that for us in our business, we have to realize that customers are attracted to simplicity and that it trumps complexity. And then I think the other thing that I'm here to say is that digital engagement can't stop at the point of sale. And I think we've seen it. I heard a good friend of mine, Steve Apicella, likes to say, step 1, digital retail, step 2, digital abandonment, right? I think that we have to find ways to keep that customer engaged in our fixed ops organizations by leveraging the same type of connective tissue that technology can provide. And I truly think that in the world of automotive, there's a famous book that a lot of MBA students read, and it's like Red Ocean, Blue Ocean. And Red Ocean has a lot of hooks in the water, right? There's not very many fish and lots of hooks. The Blue Ocean, no hooks, tons of fish. And I think that service from a digital perspective is truly the blue ocean of where we need to be applying these thought processes around delivering transparency to consumers. And so I just wanted to bring that message and share with the Fixed Ops Roundtable community today that the revolution on the retail side is actually delivering incredible outcomes. And if we can take the lessons from that and apply it to our fixed ops, to our fixed operations, we should be able to deliver those same types of increases in outcomes.
Joe, we've heard a lot about transparency over the years at the Fixed Ops Roundtable, but I got to tell you, this is the first event where transparency has really been upfront and talked about by a lot of people. So it's been a rumbling, but you know what? It's here. And transparency actually makes, like you just said, the process easier, prepares the customer, and gives us a smoother transaction once we actually engage them with their vehicle. So spot on, my friend.
Well, Ted, it's always a pleasure being here. Thank you so much for having me on. You've got so much incredible content. This is always like the highlight. Every time one of these come up, I just get super excited to not only get to be a part of it, but to listen and to learn from the incredible guests that you have. So thanks for having me, Ted.
Hey, none more incredible than you, my friend. If people want to reach out to you, Joe St. John, at Stone Eagle and find out more information about what you're up to right now and what you're working on, how do we do that?
Yeah, you can email me at jstjohn@se-fi.com or find me on LinkedIn. I'm trying to grow my followers so I can be more like you, Ted. I like to post lots of things, pretty much funny pictures, and good content about what I see happening inside of this industry. So smash follow, and thanks for having me on.
Joe St. John on the leading edge of what's coming and what is not only here, but here to stay in fixed ops. Joe St. John from Stone Eagle here today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thank you, Joe. And Ted, yesterday's interview with Carrie, Patrice, Erica, and Amanda was just so inspirational. I can't wait to hear part 2. The Women of Color Automotive Network is next.
We are so honored now to have with us at the Fixed Ops Roundtable Pay It Forward event the founders of the Women of Color Automotive Network. And we have a couple of friends who have been at the event many, many times before. I'm referring, of course, to Erica Tiffany Wells and Kerry Wise. Ladies, welcome to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. So ladies, whose idea was it that you would get together with Patrice and a dealer in Amanda and Erica and put this all together under one umbrella, WOCAN? Whose brainchild was that?
I don't know. Was it Patrice or Amanda? I don't know whose idea was it.
I'm going to take ownership.
Okay.
I don't remember. We were all talking about it. Carrie and I were on a call. It was after the unfortunate incident with George Floyd, and Carrie and I were on the phone crying, just hysterical that this had happened again. And we said, we have to do something about it. And Carrie and I had been toying with starting a group, and we were so busy. We don't have time to form a girl group right now. And at that moment, it immediately became a necessity. And then we reached out to Patrice and Erica came on board. And then the Forfecta was established. And we just trudged forward. And I mean, man, it's just become miraculous. And from idea to conception, it was about 2 months, I think, maybe.
Yeah. We were in different places too. So we're like on Zoom calls trying to figure out the name and, what's going to be our focus. And so, I mean, it's amazing to see, but I didn't realize the need, Ted. I mean, I think that is the surprising thing for me. I think initially I thought there'd be like 20 of us, because in my mind there were only 20 women of color in the business that I had seen. And so I thought it'd be this small little club that maybe we'd get together here and there. And the surprising part is not only that I'm discovering all these like hidden gems that are in our business, that don't always have the visibility or don't always have the position to be at the same conferences that I get paid to be at, right? But also even the allies that jumped on board, right? Like you, Ted. I mean, you were one of the early ones that had us on your show that really wanted to support the cause. Our first white man that joined WOCAN, I remember like we didn't know what to do with him. We said, what do we do? We didn't anticipate. Right? He came to our event. We're like, we don't know what to do because we didn't anticipate that allies would actually want to join WOCAN. Yeah. So it's been amazing.
And you've picked up some major endorsements along the way. Earlier in the show today, we had Tom Dahl, the president and CEO of Subaru of America. And I never thought we'd get him ever, a couple of years ago on a show on like the Fixed Ops Roundtable. But you've picked up, Carrie, Subaru as a sponsor. And talk to us a little bit about that.
Yes, that is another thing that I think was like somewhat surprising for us. We launched this organization in August of last year, and we were still working out, are we going to be a profit organization, a nonprofit? How on God's earth do we even set this thing up, right? We don't, and how much money is this going to cost? So some sponsors came through, and Subaru was one of the first companies to call us. And they didn't even care that we were brand new, that the ball wasn't necessarily rolling yet. They instantly signed on to be a sponsor of ours. And it says a lot about them as not just a car company, which I think is their slogan. They're about the community and being involved. And they have been holding our hand from the very beginning. TrueCar was another company. I happened to be working at TrueCar at the time, but they came on as one of our, gold sponsors. They also paid our legal fees to become a nonprofit, which were significant. It took about a year to become a nonprofit. And then Car Global was the third one that jumped on within a couple of months. So we're looking for more sponsors, but we're so thankful for those organizations for helping us out.
Okay. We're going to let everyone know at the end here how they can get a hold of all of you at WOCAN. Let me go to Erica, because Erica, you appeared on the last show and Carrie helped put all that together. And Carrie, Erica was on the opening segment of the last show, and she talked a little bit, Amanda, about that work-life balance, right? Which I know is so important to all of us and all of you on the panel. But Erica, if I could come back to you on that work life, because I got phone calls and emails afterwards, people who said, who was that? Because she was spot on with what she's talking about. And those are some of the reasons that why you gravitated to the dealership where you're at today, and you moved your family, made a huge move. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, you got to think the pandemic really, unfortunately, in some ways brought women backwards a little bit. And if you think of it in terms of our children were at home, right? And we were forced to do these Zoom calls at home, which means we had to be at home, right? And so now you're at home and you're trying to figure out how to be on your Zoom call for work, help the kids out. And a lot of women decided to get out of the workforce. Right? They decided that they just needed to be at home and to kind of remove themselves. And I just kept asking the questions, why do we have to choose? Why is it one or the other? Why can't I love my job, and why can't I love my children and my family and have both? And that flexibility should be there. And I just didn't think it existed, to be honest, Ted. I so support and want to have more women in automotive, but I had to feel like I wasn't being authentic to say that the automotive industry that I was in at the time was one that I thought would be attractive to other women, right? Because it is long hours, because it is such a sacrifice, because you give up your weekends and your holidays and you miss the birthdays and the weddings. And I said, why can't you have both? And you know what, dealership, this is the car business. This is the way it's always been. We work hard, all the way to the end of the month. It's the grind. It's 12-hour days. That's what the automotive industry, you know what you signed up for. But then someone came in and said, but what if it wasn't? And first, she was a she, right? So I got to work for a female general manager. I had never worked for a woman general manager before. And then the dealer principal is also a woman. And so you know what they said is that we're going to make rules that make sense for us. And while it is a small town, and I understand that it's a completely different market than Atlanta, what she did is said, not just for you, Erica, but for all of our employees, we close at 6 o'clock. If anybody wants to do business with our dealership, they're going to come before 6 o'clock. And guess what? It works. And it doesn't just work because it's a pandemic. It works because people respect our time and say, you know what? I'm going to do business between business hours so that you can go home and be your family. On Sundays, we are closed. On Saturdays, we close at 5. You know, when I'm having a bad day and something's going on at home and I say, you know what, my husband's doing this and that, and I need to bring my daughter to work for a couple of hours until he can pick her up. She says, no problem. In fact, I have a whole little mini daycare in my office where there's a workstation and a toy room where she can play. And she says, I welcome that, you know, and we're not worried about liability. That's why we have insurance. So if you need to bring your child to work and I get 75% of your focus, I'd rather get 75% of your focus and have you here, not feeling guilty, right? Because when we stay home, it's guilt. I'm missing work. Oh my gosh. And guess what? I'm an A-type person. I want to be at work. I love what Sherry Schultz says. She says A-type parents are not, you know, A-type employees are also A-type parents. They're not B-type parents at home. So if I'm like this at work, I'm like this at home. Yeah. So I want to be able to not have to choose between my daughter and my job. I can bring her to work for a couple of hours and still get things done. And this was the first dealership I saw that understood that flexibility. And I was willing to take a pay cut. I was willing to take a move across the country, whatever it took, because to me, my family and my time is priceless. And that is something that I am just feeling the rewards of now because I can give my best self every single day at work. And that's going to pay me more dividends than any pay plan ever could.
And Erica, our business is notorious, the retail car business, for that guilt of not being at work, right? And when you're being home. And by the way, I would say 95% of the people that reached out to me after you spoke at the last event were women who talked about that work-life balance. So spot on with that. Patrice, I got to come back to you for one last final question. And that's on the fixed ops side, because the things that you are doing right now on the service side are not only needed, but they are extraordinary. And I would imagine in the next couple of years, you know, while you are the trendsetter, others will want to duplicate and follow your path. What made you decide, you know, that this is needed? How did you go about it, and how did you implement that? Because I'm sure you had some resistance along the way.
Absolutely. You know what made me know this was needed? Because I'm an engineer. I like solving problems. And I was solving a problem in my life, right? I was thinking about what are my issues and what are the hard times that I have with my car, and how can I educate and empower myself? And, you know, Oprah's always like, once you get something, you share it, or once you learn something, you give it away. And I couldn't wait to share with women. When I went back to school to learn about cars, I couldn't wait to share that with women and said, this is stuff we need to know. Women are the #1 customer in the automotive industry, right? And it blew my mind that there was not specific programs or resources out there for them that say, women, hey, we understand you don't like your experiences. Here's how we can help. I didn't think anything was being done on a massive scale. I didn't think people were talking about it, you know, about how important women are to the automotive industry, but we weren't really listening or hearing them or creating things for them. So I thought it was just necessary. I had, you know, Amanda talked about the arrogance. I'm going to say the confidence to think that the automotive industry needs this, right? They need women. That's what I tell women. They need you, right? They need us here, and it's important. And so what we're doing with Girls Auto Clinic, and a lot of times I don't call myself an automotive company. I call myself a female empowerment company. I'm here for women, right? My dad wasn't an automotive mechanic. I didn't grow up in this. I didn't imagine I'd be in automotive. I really want to help solve a problem. And I think by solving this problem for myself, it helps solve the problem for millions of women, but also for a problem in the automotive industry, which is how can we connect with women and how can we get them included more in our experiences, because they're our #1 customer. They're the ones that are spending money. They're going to spend more money if they're more engaged and they understand it more. And, you know, that's what our goal is how do we get more women, not just feeling good about their cars, but working in the industry on the service side, not just as techs, but right in positions of influence and power. So people can see the importance of having women, and when that draws women to your store and how much money they're going to spend, right? And tell people about you and just the importance. So I get a lot of, you know, executives calling me from different big brands saying, Patrice, how do we get women? And it's a great question. And I've got a lot of ideas on that and things that I'm doing to try to solve the problem on a smaller scale, right? I get hundreds of emails a year from women all around the country and the world who are not techs, who are in their 20s, 30s, and 40s. They want to work on cars. They're discouraged for whatever reason, or have left the industry when they tried. They don't have resources, to get them in, or money. And they say, I just want to work for you. I want to do what you do, right? Can I come and work for free? And I'm trying to find a way to collect these women and say, hey, there's a market of women out here that want to be here. And there's some limiting resources and money and funds that are stopping them. How can we help them and help ourselves by helping them? So that's one of the problems we're trying to solve right now.
And Ted, one of the things that Patrice brings up is women, but there's also the reason why we have WOCAN is women of color. We have two identities. We're women and minorities. And like, just to flip it to Amanda for a second, I think she's thinking about really both of those, right? Like women, but you look at her customer base and a lot of them are people of color. Amanda, I'm gonna throw it to you, but like share with me like how you're attracting even minority customers.
I think community, right? All of the organizations that we're affiliated with are near and dear to my heart. And they're organizations that are affiliated with my son, who's a child of color. They are organizations that are affiliated with my staff, who are Black and Brown community. And so when you're out there and you're connecting with those that look, talk, walk, eat, grew up, how you did, there's that connection, right? Which I think is why a lot of it is missed in automotive, because we have the 80-year-old white man that's still sitting at the head of the table who's hiring those that look like him. And I don't blame him. I'm doing the same dang thing.
It's human nature a little bit, right?
It's human nature. I don't see myself in a 20-year-old white man. I see myself in a biracial young lady who looks and talks and dresses and acts how I did at that age. And I want her to have what I have. As Patrice said, I want to give it away, right? And so our customer base is full of those that we've touched. I sponsor my kids' basketball team at high school. I sponsor so much stuff. I got to reel it back in. But it's all organizations that are near and dear to me, and it looks like I do, and so that's why, I mean, Colorado is 9% African American as a whole, but my customer base is 80%. How does that happen? They see me, and I see them, and I hear them, and I know their struggle because I'm not legacy. I didn't come from money. I built it from nothing, which is how a lot of us minorities are. We're first generation when it comes to business. And I feel that. I feel their pain. When they're struggling financially, I know what that looks like. And so I'm here to help them level up. And it's just that connection, and it's beautiful.
Amanda, I think that we're just scratching the surface, and I'm going to need to ask all of you back, either individually or collectively. And Carrie, when you told me you were getting together the founders of WOCAN, I see what a powerful group it is. So I thank you for putting together this group and getting everyone together today. Patrice Banks, Erica Wells, Amanda Gordon, wow, and Carrie Wise. Carrie, tell us how we can learn more about WOCAN, how our audience can get involved.
Yeah, so join us at WOCAutonetwork.com. We have monthly events, so you can register and find out about those. We are for women of color, Black, Latina, Native, Asian, but we're also for white women and men. We have an ally program, so please go to our website, learn more, and we'd love to have you on our next virtual event. And Ted,
go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you. Listen, we would not be where we are without allies like you sharing their stage and their light and giving us this visibility. So thank you so much, Ted.
Great stuff. Everyone, the Women of Color Automotive Network, the founders here today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.